Hi there from Chicago. Glad to have you with us here on Big Ten Today, presented by Taco Bell. Mike Hall, Anthony Herron. And if you joined us yesterday, you know this is how Anthony wants to start the show.
And you're like a rock. No matter how much I try to distract Mike Hall during the cold open of the show, you refuse to be distracted.
Just saying.
It's impressive.
It's going to be a fun year, sir.
Yes, sir.
You ready for the big story today?
I am. Can't wait.
Big story today is all about new QBs. Will Howard takes over at quarterback for Kyle McCord at Ohio State, who by no means was bad last year. He just didn't meet the very high standard OSU has at its program, especially at that position. In comes Howard, who started in each of the last 4 seasons at Kansas State. Howard addressed the media before he debuts in scarlet and gray on Saturday.
You know, when he told us, I was very excited. You know, it's an honor, it's a privilege, and I don't take it lightly. You know, and there's a lot of really, really good players in that room, and you know, to be named the starter in a group, you know, like we have is an honor, and it truly, you know, is special to me. And being the starting quarterback of Ohio State, you know, it's truly like I said, it's a blessing, man. It's not something I take lightly, and you know, I know that there's a lot of stuff that comes with that. You know, I know there's a lot of expectations and, you know, pressure, if you will. But you know, I knew that was the first goal on my list when we got here. You know, was to be the guy. And you know, I knew I had to work for it, and the guys in the room weren't going to make it easy. You know, but I felt like I had a good camp, and I showed the coaching staff that, you know, what I could do, and felt like I finally settled into the offense for the first time. And you know, just going through fall, you know, I feel really, really confident with, you know, kind of how I'm feeling the offense out and how I'm kind of, you know, evolving in this system. And yeah, I'm flattered. I'm fired up, man. It's humbling, but it's also, you know, something I don't take lightly at all. And I'm humbled. I'm blessed, man. It's gonna be fun.
He has an awful lot of talent. He is a threat to run. He did start for 4 years at Kansas State. Now, to be fair, he also did lose reps last year to a freshman at a certain point in the season. But as I mentioned earlier, like, Kyle McCord was pretty darn good. It's just the bar for that position at that school is higher than pretty darn good.
It intrigues me what the evaluation of that position will lend itself to this year, because the way we evaluate quarterback at Ohio State, to your point, Mike, is that now the expectation is you're going to be a first-round draft pick, you're going to be in the Heisman Trophy conversation, you're going to be the main reason that the Buckeyes win games week in and week out. And we saw that pressure just build and mount around everything that evolved around the program last year, to the point where it felt almost crushing, you know, to a certain extent. Now Will Howard comes in, and I think, you know, having an offensive coordinator come in like Chip Kelly, that should enhance the way that his productivity can not only be dependent upon his arm talent, but it can also enhance the way that he moves the pocket with his legs, the way they call the quarterback into the run scheme. He's a big, strapping young lad, and they also have depth at QB. So with Chip Kelly calling those plays on offense, I do think it'll accentuate the way that Ryan Day's offense in Columbus can not only showcase that talent that they have on the outside at wide receiver, but also just the QB run game that really became popularized quite a bit during Urban Meyer's time there. I think we'll see those things melded between the two.
I feel like as a leader, your job is oftentimes, and we both get this, we're parents of young children, your job is to put your person in a position to succeed, right? You do a lot of work for the Chicago Bears. Caleb Williams this year, their new quarterback, is in a position to succeed with all the talent around him. Yeah. Howard is in that position. I mean, you could still argue, this is maybe 2 or 3 years in a row now, arguably the deepest, most talented position room in the country is wide receivers at Ohio State, and he's got 2 superstar running backs to hand the ball off to also.
To be in that spot, it should take pressure off of his desire to take risks, his desire to search for the big play, and the way that the team is able to control games. That's really, during the early part of Ryan Day's time there, that was one of the questions that I had about just the way he managed games on the whole, whether or not his style, the volume of passing that he called, yes, it could lead to big points, but it did allow game control to lapse at times for the Buckeyes. So now not only that combination between Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, but all this talent that's infused at receiver, at running back, the QB run game. They've got access to so many different things, and also one of the top defenses in the country.
Right.
So there's so much of this that takes pressure off of Will Howard. Now, I don't know that Buckeye fans are going to view it that way, but I do think that's the responsible way to view what type of production they get from quarterback, because there's some big games on that OSU schedule. There's no doubt about that. But as long as those big games end up in victory and you see so many aspects of the program flourishing, then if the quarterback doesn't throw 6 touchdown passes, if Will Howard isn't averaging 350 plus passing yards, but he's showcasing an efficiency and a playmaking ability, this can prove to be perhaps the best team in America.
Right. Just don't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
Let all those playmakers have the ability to make plays on your
Right.
offense, and that should guide them to victory. He's one of many QBs with the spotlight on them. Another one is over in Lincoln, where they haven't anticipated a freshman at QB like this in quite some time. Dylan Raiola named the starter just a few days ago. He's just a few months removed from playing in high school. The freshman was a top 10 overall ranked prospect this past recruiting cycle. Here's what's on his mind now that he's the starter Saturday against UTEP.
Yeah, it was emotional, honestly. I mean, the first thing I did was call my mom, call my dad. You know, very, very thankful for them. You know, I wouldn't be here without them. And then my brother and my sister, made sure I called them and let them know I appreciate them very much. There's a lot of other people I could thank, but you know, just due to time right now. Yeah, it was a good conversation. You know, it was a fun competition, and you know, I still love Danny, still love Heinrich, and like they push me every day. So I can't thank them enough for what they did, and you know, helped me be where I am as well.
Dylan, how did they give you that news?
Say it again.
How did they give you that news that you're?
I guess Coach Rule just after practice was just like, "Hey, you're our starting quarterback. Congratulations," and that was it. And he went to the media, and it was just quick. You know, it's about our team. You know, I don't want to make it about me or what I do, and I can't win the game by myself. So it's going to take all 11 on both sides of the ball, and that's our focus.
If you could give a message to Husker Nation, the fans, about what they can expect from you and this team and what they're going to bring to the table, what would that be?
Buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride.
Love the attitude, right? That's what you want from your quarterback, too. A little bit of confidence, excitement to do the job. Such a different type of pressure on him than on Will Howard, though.
And Will Howard has come by the level of maturity that we heard from him there. He's come by that through years of service and starting in college football and been on big stages before. Dylan Raiola is a true freshman. He is just, like you said, a few months ago, removed himself from high school football and is now in Lincoln. I mean, yes, at his dad's program. He has been born and bred into what it means to be a Husker. Actually played with his dad down with the Detroit Lions, played against him in college multiple times as well, even before Nebraska ended up joining the Big Ten. So that competitive temperament that we heard from Dylan Raiola, that does come from an honest place, from his parents, from what he was, you know, sort of built around as a young athlete, being nurtured by his dad. But on the whole, the maturity really is what impresses me, what astounds me in some ways, even beyond the physical ability that we see from Dylan Raiola, because he does seem prepared to command this stage with Nebraska and all those expectations that come with being a Husker QB, with wanting to lead this program to wins at a level that they haven't seen in a decade plus. He seems ready for that. Now, it's one thing to seem ready for it before you actually step between the white lines in a regular season game.
And there is a difference from UTEP week one versus the teams they're going to have further along in the season. But if you look at their schedule, people think Matt Rule can do good things in his second year because that's all he's done when he's rebuilt programs. They take a big step forward in the second year. 7-0 is not crazy to think about as a possibility to start the season for the Huskers.
And I think they might play all 12 games at Memorial Stadium, or if it's not all 12, like the majority of their games this year are at home. The schedule for Nebraska has been a huge complaint for Husker fans in recent years, and now they do have that opportunity to be at home in front of that raucous home crowd at Memorial, watch those red balloons go into the air, and root their team on frequently early in the season, as opposed to watching them go into hostile territory with a team with new talent at QB or a new head coach who's trying to figure things out. Now, you get the chance to perhaps get off to a hot start if you're Nebraska and do so at home on a frequent basis with a schedule that's a little bit more manageable than we've seen them have to, fight against in recent years here. So there's a lot within the schedule and the situation for Nebraska that feels like this could be that season that Husker fans have been waiting for, been leaning towards for years now.
Which kind of goes into the goal of getting a Dylan Raiola. You get a top 10 recruit. The hope is that snowballs. And then all of a sudden other recruits are like, oh yeah, you can do great things at Nebraska, even though it's been a long time. You get a nice season this year where they can win 8-9 games or something. That helps build momentum. Things could be pointing in the right direction in Lincoln.
And the experience is back on defense led by Tony White. That makes a huge difference as well, because if you have that true freshman quarterback maybe sputter a little bit, he's going through some growing pains. They have got one of the top defenses in America with so much talent, and that front seven's coming back for another year.
We mentioned that the schedule leans in their favor this year. If you're curious about the other side of the spectrum, who's got perhaps the toughest schedule among the Big Ten teams, well, we have that info for you. It's USC with non-conference games against LSU and Notre Dame, plus at Michigan and Penn State at home. Next is Northwestern, which has Washington and Michigan on the road, Ohio State at home. You'll notice all 4 of the new schools are in the top 5 toughest schedules in the Big Ten on paper. Now, luckily, they no longer play games on paper, but rather on a field, so that's good for USC. Here's Trojan head coach Lincoln Riley.
I mean, these games are fun. I've been in a couple of these big ones in early seasons, and they're great because you look forward to it all off season. It's a great way to start the season, and so, no, I think it's a positive. First games, there's always a sense of new and excitement, and you're kind of waiting to see what you really are and what the opponent really is. I think you always feel that, but I like it. I like playing a marquee game early. I like playing a really good opponent early. I think there's a ton of positives, and like I said, I think there's been a momentum and an excitement about this that's been building for a long time. It feels like a lot of these last few years, and probably, with quarterbacks, either graduating or transferring or doing all that they do, and then obviously all the coaching turnover the last several years, it feels like more of the first games have been like this, where you feel like, you watch people, but you feel like, all right, we're not maybe seeing exactly what it's going to be, or if you're having to watch a different opponent or a player from a different school, a coach from a different school. So it is what it is. As I said last night on the show, there's parts of it that, yeah, sometimes you wish you were just sitting there watching the people that you're going to play, like do exactly what they're going to do, or at least run their system. But then the flip side of it is, it's their first game in a lot of areas too.